You may know Pulse for their superstar models, but did you know that they're also into television and real estate? As a matter of fact, real estate is actually where they make most of their money. I'm Kalilah Reynolds, and over the next few weeks, I'm going to be taking you on an inside look at Pulse Investments, starting here at Villa Ronai.
I met up with Kingley Cooper, chairman of Pulse Investments.
So you brought me here to the beautiful and lush Villa Ronai. How long have you had this property?
Oh, since 1993 actually. And you know, when we started it, the first event we had here was called Ruination, because it was, you know, in ruin almost, you know, and the idea was to come up here and discover this fun place that was, you know, in the state it was in. And then, you know, over time we restored and restored and restored.
So you started using the property as for events?
Yes, yes. I'm sure you would have come to one or two parties here in your time.
In my time? Which time? Not too young, man.
Young time. You've never come here to an event?
No, I think the first time I came here was Majestic. So tell me about this property.
Well, Villa Ronai was created by the Ronai family in the 40s. The Ronais came from Hungary to Jamaica just after the war. And Mr. Ronai, Arpad Ronai, became the Belgian Consul General for Jamaica, honorary Consul General. So although he's from Hungary, he was the Belgian Consul General. And Mrs. Ronai, her mother and her daughter were artists. She had 3 generations of artists creating this property. So they came and they just bought a little house and then they added to it and built the gardens and the sculptures in the gardens and created this incredible property. And so I acquired it in '93, as I said. And Mrs. Ronai decided that she'd sell it to me. But lots of people wanted to buy it and she wouldn't sell it to them because she wanted to make sure her work would have been preserved.
Right.
Because it's her life work. She'd left in the 70s, I believe, to live in Brazil and Venezuela with her children, a daughter and a son. One was in one place, one was in the other. And Mr. Ronai stayed, and he died 5 years before I acquired the property.
The property is actually 9 acres, which you might not realize if you've only come to the restaurant.
So Villa Ronai is 9 acres. It has, most people see Villa Ronai, they come here to the restaurant, for example, or they drive in, or for whatever reason, they come to a wedding or something like that, and they know here, they know the entertainment area, they know the restaurant, they know the little building in front, but they don't understand that it goes all the way back here and then down in the valley. And so it's quite you know, an interesting property with a huge potential, which a lot of which we have now realized because we have now added suites, guest suites, we have residential apartments, we have, you know, a number of spaces, weddings with facilities, a spa with facilities, and so on. So all of them are not yet operational because, of course, all this is happening in the middle of the pandemic. So things that have not yet started, there's no point starting them. No, it's better to wait until it recedes and then you get started.
In its heyday in the 60s and 70s, Villa Ronai was known around the world, featured in international magazines and on television, including Harper's Bazaar, National Geographic, and NBC. More recently, The Knot, a popular bridal magazine and website, featured a celebrity wedding at the property.
Mrs. Ronai boasts that the tourist board used to use Villa Ronai to bring guest tours to Kingston. Not sure if that is entirely true, but it would have been part of the attraction that you know, made people come here. It certainly was on the tour route, and Martin's Tours, which were Martin's was a big tour company of the time. They had a partnership with her, and they brought, you know, sometimes hundreds of tourists would come in a single day because we'd have cruise shipping in Kingston, and they'd come off the boat and just, you know, go on the Martin's buses, and you'd see the buses coming up here. People, I too am too young for that, but people in the area tell you that they would have, back in the day, they would see the buses coming up, you know. So that was part of her her history.
So now that Kingston is kind of being revived as a cruise destination with the Port Royal port, are you looking at having this as a tourist attraction again?
Absolutely. We are registered with the tourist board for some time now as an attraction. It's just something that has such a potential, and of course, we plan to build Pulse homes in the valley.
Right.
So we have restaurants here. The Japanese restaurant is well known, but there's another one. You're going to look at the Refuge, and there's another one that's going to be set up in there. We have residential apartments where people can now stay here, maybe get a 1-year lease. We have guest suites for overnight guests, and as I mentioned, the spa, the wedding center, even Rain Barrett, I think Romain might have mentioned that before, to set up a fitness center so he can bring his New York clients to Jamaica, maybe for retreats and a fitness retreat.
Holistic wellness.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is just perfect in this environment.
Villa Ronai has been personally owned by Cooper since 1993 and leased to Pulse Investments. But with all this potential, and especially the plans to begin construction on Pulse homes, Cooper says it was important for the company to officially acquire the property. The transaction was completed in April 2021.
Pulse has acquired Villa Ronai, and for a number of reasons. Certainly when you do the homes and you want to sell units, because we're going to sell some and keep some, Pulse has to own it to sell it, and also to strengthen our asset base, because now our assets include real property and not just a 50-year lease. So that strengthens the company and makes it more attractive to investors.
Of course, I had to ask about the money.
And as part of that acquisition, there was some financing that was acquired. Tell me about that.
Yes, we're still working on financing. We acquired 1.2 billion of new financing, which enabled the transfer of the property and the repayment of existing debt. And now we're finalizing additional financing to repay some more of that, more short-term portion of that debt, and also to build the homes in the first 15 of the 30 homes in the valley.
So, what are Pulse's numbers looking like? Next time we look at their financial performance.